Welcome to this lecture on degrees of freedom. Now, what is degree of freedom? Degree of freedom is the ability of a particular particle or object to move in a particular direction. Or you can say that degree of freedom is a particular possibility of motion in a particular way. Now, let's take this example. Let's say that this is a block of certain mass and it is going with certain velocity on this ground. So you can clearly see that there is only one motion possible over here. That is, this motion, this block can travel straight on this path, which means that its degree of freedom is 1. That means only one possibility is there in which it can travel or its motion can happen. Let's take up another situation. This is y-axis, this is x-axis, and this is a projectile. The projectile motion that we have studied in motion in a plane. Now here, because it is moving in plane, it means that it is moving along y and it is moving along x as well. So it has 2 degrees of freedom. That means it can travel in 2 directions basically, and it is traveling in 2 directions or in that plane simultaneously. That means the motion in x and motion in y is taking place at one shot. Let's say that this is a 3-dimensional space wherein this is x, this is y, and this we will consider as z. Let's consider a molecule which is traveling in space anywhere. So basically it can travel along the 3 direction, and hence the degree of freedom is 3. So these are some examples in real life or in the physics that we have studied. But now when we are talking about degrees of freedom, it's mostly going to be related to molecules and atoms. So let's get started. Now when we talk about degrees of freedom, the types of molecules that you have learned till now are monoatomic, some are diatomic, and some are polyatomic. Now, if you consider helium atom, we consider helium as a monoatomic gas. So when you consider monoatomic gas, that means only there is one particle. And if you consider the 3-dimensional space, let's say that that particle is over here. So there is a possibility that it might move along x, it might translate along y, or it might translate along z. So it can have 3 types of translational kinetic energies based on the direction in which it is traveling. So you can say that the degree of freedom is 3 in this case. Now as far as rotational kinetic energy is concerned, we are not considering it because it has a very negligible moment of inertia. So that is the reason why we are not considering rotational kinetic energy. Now let's consider a diatomic molecule. Example, O2, CO2 and H2. So this time we'll consider diatomic molecule like O2, CO2, H2. So that is of the form, that is of this form. So if you consider that it is present along, let's say it is present along x-axis at that moment at which we are analyzing, and so it can travel along this path, or it can travel along this path, or it can travel along this path. By traveling I mean it can translate. So translational motion can happen along 3 paths. Now when I consider rotation, rotation can happen along this, that means can rotate like this along the y-axis, or it can very well rotate if it is placed over here, it can rotate along this also. However, it cannot rotate along x-axis. So rotation can happen in 2 ways. So at normal temperatures, we can say that the degree of freedom is 5. That is 3 plus 2 is 5. Now at high temperatures what happens is, because let's say that we have this kind of a structure wherein we always say that between two atoms we consider there is a spring. So depending on the intermolecular forces and depending on the temperatures, this is vibrating, that is compressing and expanding. Now at high temperatures what will happen is, it will slightly change its position and it will start vibrating in its own place over here. Now it means that it is going to have certain kind of vibrational energy also, and that vibrational energy is of two types. One, vibrational potential energy, and the other one is vibrational kinetic energy. So we consider both in this case. So vibrational potential energy is something that is dependent on the intermolecular forces, and vibrational kinetic energy is dependent on the temperature rise. And hence what will happen is, I will consider two more degrees of freedom here, that is these two. And in the case where the temperatures are high, we consider that it's going to be 5 plus 2, 7. Now let's consider a linear triatomic molecule. Example, NH3. Let's consider that. This is the structure that we are talking about. Let's say that these are the three axes, X, Y and Z, of course. So you can see for yourself that if it is placed anywhere on any axis, for example in this format, it can translate along this path, or it can translate along this path, or it can translate, that means can come like this or go like this. That means can translate along three paths. So the translational degrees of freedom is 3. That means 3 motions are possible. If you consider the rotational motion, definitely rotational motion can happen here straight, that means can rotate like this. It can rotate like this also, that means the rotational motion can happen along this. And not only that, if you place it over here, the rotational motion can happen this way also. That means all 3 axes, the rotational motion can happen. So rotational degrees of freedom is 3, which means that the total degrees of freedom that we have for a linear, non-linear triatomic molecule is 6. Now at high temperatures, we have to add another 2 degrees of freedom, that is vibrational potential energy and vibrational kinetic energy, and in that case it is going to be vibrational degree of freedom, another 2, but that's only at high temperatures. Now this is about linear monoatomic, diatomic and triatomic molecules. How about a closed solid? If you consider a solid in this shape, you can very well see that it will be closely bound. That means all these will be closely packed and they will be having these strong bonds. So definitely there won't be any motion as such, but then if you increase the temperature, they'll start vibrating about their own positions, and which means that along every axis they'll have 2 vibrations, that is vibrational potential energy and vibrational kinetic energy. And hence if we consider a typical molecule here, 1, 2 and 3, along each axis you will have 2 vibrations. That means the total number of vibrations that it can have is 6. along the 3 axis, and hence the degree of freedom of a solid is going to be 6, but that's only for the high temperatures, because only at high temperatures it will start vibrating. So let's talk about the next concept, that is internal energy. So internal energy is the amount of energy or the disordered zigzag motion that is there within the molecules. So let's consider a situation. Let's consider that this is a container in which you have a lot of gas particles and they are randomly arranged. So each particle is having a zigzag kind of a motion, and while this is happening, the entire container is taken ahead at some velocity. So whatever motion is happening with respect to the container, that motion is happening with respect to the gas also. And this kind of a motion is called ordered motion. However, you can see that internally, even though the gas is being transferred from one place to another, and from one point to the other point, this disordered motion is taking place. Now this disordered motion over here is the main reason for the internal energy of the gas. Now, if we say that there is a particular temperature, then definitely there is going to be some vibration. If you still keep increasing the temperature, the amount of vibration or the amount of zigzag motion that this is experiencing will be more. So we can certainly say that the amount of energy, that is the amount of internal energy that will be there in this gas, is a sum of kinetic energy plus potential energy. But we are dealing with ideal gases, and in the case of ideal gas, we have seen that there is no interatomic forces. Now because there are no interatomic forces, we can neglect this potential energy, and now what happens is the entire the internal energy is just dependent on the kinetic energy. That means we are trying to measure how much kinetic energy is there inside this system. And so we can say that because kinetic energy is entirely dependent on motion of the molecules, motion is directly dependent on temperature. And so we can say that the internal energy of a gas is entirely dependent on the temperature, or it's a function of temperature. Now when we talk about the internal energy of an ideal gas, it is ideal in all the respects. So internal energy is equally distributed among all the degrees of freedom. Now if we consider 1 mole of a certain gas, so for 1 degree of freedom, the amount of energy distributed is half RT, where T is the absolute temperature of the gas. Where T is the absolute temperature of the gas. Now once this is understood, if there are F degrees of freedom for 1 mole of a gas, again it's a 1 mole of gas that we are considering, and F degrees of freedom, internal energy is going to be F by 2 RT. So what I have done is, for every degree of freedom, the amount of internal energy is half RT. For F degrees of freedom, the amount of internal energy is going to be F by 2 RT. And now for N moles of a gas, and of course F degrees of freedom, total internal energy is going to be N times F by 2 RT. So which means that for 1 mole of a monoatomic gas, for 1 mole of monoatomic gas, this is going to be 3 by 2 RT, because degree of freedom for monoatomic gas is 3. For diatomic, For 1 mole of diatomic gas, this is going to be 5 by 2 RT, and for the non-linear molecule that we spoke about, non-linear triatomic, it is going to be 7 by 2 RT. So in this case it's going to be 6 by 2 in fact, because degree of freedom is 6, and this is going to be 3 RT. Now that we have understood how to find the internal energy of a gas depending upon the type of the molecule or type of the atom, what we can do is we can just summarize this in the form of a table. So here we know that for a monoatomic, the translational degrees of freedom is 3, rotational degrees of freedom is 0, and hence the total degrees of freedom is 3. The translational part of the internal energy is going to be F by 2 RT, which is going to be 3 by 2 RT, and as far as the rotational is concerned, it's 0. So total summed up comes to 3 by 2 RT. As far as diatomic is concerned, this is going to be 3 and 2, and total is 5. So this is going to be 3 by 2 RT, and this is 2 by 2 RT, which is of course the RT, and this is going to be 5 by 2 RT. As far as this is concerned, both are 3 and total is 6. So this is going to be 3 by 2 RT and 3 by 2 RT, which when summed up comes to 3 RT. Now as far as this is for 1 mole, and if you consider 1 molecule, then of course we are going to derive the formula, but then for per molecule, the amount of internal energy divided per degree of freedom is half kT. Just like it is half RT for 1 mole and for 1 degree of freedom. That is, for each degree of freedom of 1 mole of a gas, it is half RT. For each molecule, it is defined as half kT, where K is called a Boltzmann constant. Of course, we are going to talk in depth about this, but then, so here is going to be like 3 by 2 kT, and this is 0, so this comes as 3 by 2 kT. This is going to be 3 by 2 kT, this is 2 by 2 kT, and so this comes as 5 by 2 kT. And the last one is going to be similar to this, which is 3 by 2 kT, 3 by 2 kT here, and this is going to be 3 kT. So that is what you are supposed to remember or know for solving problems which involves this data. So now we have this question which says that find the total internal energy of 3 moles of hydrogen gas at temperature T. Now we know that it's a diatomic molecule, so obviously when we consider this particular formula, which is our reference, the degrees of freedom is going to be 5 and the number of moles are 3 divided by 2 RT. So the answer is going to be 7.5 RT. That is the amount of internal energy that this will contain. Let's take this problem. It says that 10 moles of oxygen are kept at temperature T. At some higher temperature to T, 40% of molecular oxygen breaks down into atomic oxygen. Find the change in internal energy. That's what they have said. So first of all, in the initial state, let us consider the internal energy. And for that, the basic formula is NF by 2 RT. So number of moles is 10, the degrees of freedom is 5 because it's a diatomic molecule, divided by 2 RT. And so we get 25 RT as the answer. Now this is the internal energy in the initial state. Let's talk about the final state. Now 40% of molecular oxygen breaks into atomic oxygen, which means that 40% of 10 is 4. So 4 moles of diatomic oxygen have been converted into monoatomic oxygen because the bonds have been broken. And so 4 moles of diatomic oxygen is now converted to 8 moles of monoatomic oxygen. And so for the monoatomic part, the answer is going to be 8 into 3, because now for monoatomic oxygen we will speak as monoatomic gas, and so the degree of freedom is going to be 3. This by 2 RT, and of course this happens at temperature 2T, so that also we'll have to mention. Along with that, if you go by this rule, 6 moles are still alive of diatomic oxygen, and that into 5 R into 2T divided by 2. Overall, when we add this up, this is going to be 24 RT plus this goes, and we get 30 RT. So overall, we are going to get 54 RT, and so 54 RT minus 25 RT, overall the answer is going to be 29 RT. So change in internal energy is going to be U final minus U initial, which is 29 RT. That is the answer of this question.